Hello, class. This is Professor Brennan, and today we're going to talk about language as strategy. What do I mean by that? Well, you're my public speaking students. You should have an idea of what I mean by that. I want you to think about the speeches you've been watching over the last semester, the ones I've given you, hopefully maybe the ones you've even watched. Maybe you've watched some speeches by politicians since we are in election year. What does it mean by language of strategy? What kind of strategies do people use in their speeches to engage their audience or to make them feel something? Or, yeah, ethos, pathos, and logos, but a lot of pathos, right? So let's take a look at that. We're going to look at those different strategies, and then I'm going to have you at the end of this particular lecture as part of what you're going to do actually in class is to analyze Tim Minchin's speech. It's commencement speech that he gives to, I think it's the University of New Zealand. But he's an Australian comedian and he uses language very well. Very interesting, engaging man. And that's what you'll be looking at. So let's get right to it. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. Oh, my PowerPoint should have been right there. I'm sorry about that. There it is. And we're going to play from start. All right. So here we are. Language and style, or language as strategy. Well, when I start out the choose your words carefully is you've already experienced this. You've now been doing a couple speeches. You understand the power of your words, the words that you choose, how you say them, right? In what context you say them in. So your words do have power. When we're choosing our words for speech, you need to consider your audience. Who are you talking to, right? If you're going to use certain kinds of slang or even make references to certain things, you have to consider, like when I talk in class and I'll say things like, y'all know what a dial-up phone is, and students will laugh, and most students know what that is, probably because they've seen it on TV, not because they've experienced it. And then I'll say, does everyone know what an 8-track tape is? And I'll tell you what, there'll be a whole bunch of students have no idea what I'm talking about. You may not have any idea what I'm talking about. Well, that's what I'm to mean. Choose your words, choose your examples. Think of your audience. What do they know? What are they aware of? What age are they? What gender are they? What is their focus? What's their ethnicity? What's their background? Those things go into that. What's the occasion? What's your purpose for giving the speech, right? Am I informing, persuading, or doing a little bit of both? What's the context and situation? All these things, when you're choosing your language, go into what it is you're going to talk about. Writing versus speaking. Well, when we write something, obviously, we write things word for word. We are taught to be grammatically correct. And I don't mean texting. I mean writing an essay, the da 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 da, period. Starts with a capital of the first word, da 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 da, period, or exclamation mark, or whatever. So that's writing. No one talks like that. In fact, people don't even necessarily talk in complete sentences. Think about it. People talk in phrases. Their pauses aren't necessarily even commas. Could be like a dash, right? So, I mean, who says no one when you're writing it? I say right at the end of my sentences a lot. Nobody does that, usually when they're writing. So writing versus speaking, two different things. But the words that you use in your speech are important. Oral communication is adaptable. If anything, I hope that you've learned in this class why this whole outlining business happens, is to allow you to have adaptability in the delivery of your speech. Oral language is adaptable. Your feedback, generally speaking, if you're giving a public speech with an audience that is present, it is immediate. How they respond to you, you're going to feel it and see it and hear it. Oral language is less formal. We don't talk and we use language if we're doing a speech. We're using language that people can relate to. It's simplified. We're not trying to impress anyone with our big language skills. That's not what public speaking is about. If you look at the public speakers, that have been defined as good public speakers, they might have some pieces of discourse that are of a certain level of educational level or academic level, but mostly the way they speak is in a very simple, using simple words and examples. They give lots of examples and metaphors and similes, things to help people understand their message. So it's less formal. And it incorporates repetition. All good speeches repeat. They might have a repeating phrase at the beginning. You'll notice that politicians will have that when they're trying to drive something home. They'll repeat it. They'll repeat that phrase and they'll say something and they'll repeat that phrase again, right? Or they'll repeat it at the end. That's called anaphora and epiphora, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So there is repetition. It could be a repetition of a concept, right? It could be a repetition but there's some repetition. One is because it's to remind us and to keep us involved in the thread and the concept of their speech. But it's also a technique. You don't do that generally unless you're writing a poem. We don't use repetition in an essay. Okay, discerning the meaning of words. What do I mean by that? Denotative versus connotative. What do you know about that? What does denotative mean? What do you think it means? It is the real, literal definition of a word. Okay? It is like if you were to look up a dictionary, what does that mean? This is the definition of that word. It's the exact, literal definition. Word can only be associated with that exact definition of word. Okay? I just lost there's my arrow. Now, connotative is something that's figurative. It's interpreted, right? Let's go back. Sorry, I went too fast. So let's think about it. When we say their mood is cloudy, that's connotative, right? But we know what cloudy feels like, right? What is clouds? Clouds are associated with storms. Clouds are associated with colder weather, or a storm is coming, or rain. Clouds are associated with something that makes it feel kind of ominous. So that's a connotative. We say someone's mood is cloudy. We know that they're kind of like, they might be kind of touchy. They might be kind of in a depressed place. They're kind of down, right? Those are the associations we make with the word cloudy when we're talking about. Now it's connotative. It's not denotative. It's not really their behavior. Cannot be cloudy. It's impossible because a cloud is a cloud. It's in the sky and it's related to moisture, right? So do you understand the difference between denotative and connotative? When a speaker uses connotative words, it's very powerful because all of us know what a cloud is. That's a very simple kind of thing. We know what that is. When we make the association of the word blue, we say someone's blue. They're obviously not blue unless they're an alien from another planet and they literally are blue. But blue refers to someone's mood. Okay. Delivering your message. You got to deliver it with language we understand. Language we know. We understand, we get. Don't use a bunch of jargon. Jargon means jargon is usually meaning technical language. Language that's related to a particular discipline or a particular vocation. The average person, unless they practice that vocation, they don't have any idea of what you're talking about. So you've got to be aware of that if you're giving a speech. Do we know about that? Right? Like in teaching and education, there's a bunch of acronyms. If you're not in education, you may not know what the heck that means. So you have to be aware. Try to limit the use of jargon. And if you have to use that jargon, be willing to explain what that means. Okay, so limit that use. Think about your topics. Think about if your topic contains so much jargon, if that is even a good topic for your audience. I've had students give speeches on, they always want to give speeches about that are computer guys. They're usually guys, could be girls too, but they love computers and they want to give a speech on, I don't know, how to fix a computer or something. I'm not a computer person, so for me, that's a boring topic, just for me. But because computer is so specific in all these processing board and different jargon, it's too much. It's too much for speech because it requires too much background information. And that's what jargon is about. You have to have the background information to understand what the jargon means. If you don't have the background information, you can't spend your entire speech giving the background information. So limit it. Okay. Delivering a clear message. How do we do that? We're still on that. What is your word choice? Right? How do you choose your words? Is it abstract or is it concrete? Concrete words are specifically point to something specific. Abstract or ambiguous. You want to have as many concrete words in your speech as possible. Remember, as you give that speech, we are imagining what your speech is about. We're imagining it. You're giving these scenarios and we go there in our minds. We are filling in the blanks with our mind of understanding what you're saying. Some of us do that with emotion. I'm a person that I literally visualize what you're saying in my mind as you're talking. But that's kind of as creatures, that's how we understand things. So concrete words are specific. If you want to refer to something specific, be specific. Use a specific word. If you're going to use ambiguous words like love means different things to different people. You've got to give concrete language so we can understand what you mean about love. Okay, very important. One more. Delivering a clear message. Proper use of words. What do I mean by that? You have to know, first of all, you need to know how to pronounce the words. Okay? There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pronounce the words that you can go look it up on the internet and or dictionary, they will pronounce it for you. So practice it. If you don't know how to pronounce a word, your credibility goes down if you don't pronounce it the correct way. And we don't even understand what you're talking about if you haven't pronounced it the right way, if you're so off. Okay, so learn how to do that. Know the correct usage of the word and how it applies to what you're talking about. And understand if there's, when I say shared cultural understanding, what I mean is, how do we understand the word, right? Like if you're going to say like, oh man, that was so cool, or that was so dope. Well, and I love to use that as an example because dope used to mean drugs a long time ago. Now dope is a way to say that's super cool, right? You need to have your own understanding of what the social discourse or cultural understanding, our cultural understanding of words are, to use them properly. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pick up. Where am I picking up at? We're still in delivering a clear message. We're talking about concise language. And I will be right back.